Now your life smells like your morals.
Some men get a golden anniversary. I get a golden shower of lawyers and betrayal. My name is Drew Walker, and 3 hours ago I thought I had a marriage. Now I'm sitting in my truck outside a Walmart at midnight, nursing a bottle of bourbon, and watching my phone light up with increasingly desperate texts from my wife Tessa. Each message is a masterpiece of manipulation wrapped in fake concern. Drew, please come home. We need to talk. I can explain everything. Don't do anything stupid. Too late for that last one, sweetheart. Let me back up. I'm 38. I fix yachts for rich people who can't tell a propeller from a pool noodle. And until today, I thought my biggest problem was Jimmy, my 21-year-old son, flunking out of college to chase some girl to California. My other boy, Sid, he's the smart one at 24, working on his master's degree and keeping his head screwed on straight. Tessa and I have been married 15 years. She's a paralegal at Morrison, Klein & Associates, which sounds fancy, but mostly means she files papers and fetches coffee for lawyers who think they're God's gift to jurisprudence. Her boss is Brett Garris, a balding weasel who drives a BMW he can't afford and has the personality of wet cardboard soaked in desperation. I should have seen the signs. Honestly, a blind man could have seen them with a white cane and a seeing eye dog. Late nights at the office, client dinners that lasted until midnight. Her phone always face down on the table like it was hiding state secrets. And the way her friends would clam up when I walked into a room like I'd caught them planning a bank heist. Tessa's friends are sharks in designer shoes. There's Becky, who at least has the decency to look uncomfortable when she lies, and Carla, who treats other people's misery like it's premium cable entertainment. They've been whispering and giggling for months, and now I know what about. This morning started normal enough. I was supposed to spend the day replacing the engine on a 40-footer owned by some tech millionaire who made his fortune selling an app that reminds people to drink water. Revolutionary stuff. But the parts shipment got delayed, so I decided to surprise Tessa with lunch. Surprise. That's honestly of a word. I used my key, called out, "Honey, I'm home," like some sitcom husband, and heard sounds from upstairs that definitely weren't the washing machine. My first instinct was to grab a baseball bat, thinking we had intruders. Then I heard Tessa's voice, breathless and saying things she hadn't said to me in about 5 years. I took those stairs 3 at a time, my heart hammering like a jackhammer on concrete. The bedroom door was cracked open just enough to give me a perfect view of my wife of 15 years riding Brett Garris like he was the last horse out of Dodge. In my bed, on my sheets, in the house I've been paying the mortgage on for 12 years. The rational part of my brain shut down completely. I kicked that door open so hard it bounced off the wall and probably left a dent. Tessa screamed. Brett made a sound like a stepped-on chihuahua and tried to cover himself with a pillow that had "World's Greatest Dad" embroidered on it. A Father's Day gift from Jimmy 3 years ago. "Well," I said, surprised by how calm my voice sounded, "this explains why you've been too tired for anniversary love." Brett started babbling something about how this wasn't what it looked like, which was rich considering what it looked like was exactly what it was. I grabbed him by what was left of his hair and yanked him off my wife and out of my bed. He was pale and soft, like an uncooked dinner roll with delusions of grandeur. "Get dressed and get out," I told him, my voice still eerily steady. "Try this again and I'll ruin more than your dental work." He scrambled for his clothes like the building was on fire. Tessa was crying and pleading, wrapping herself in my bathrobe and reaching for me with hands that had been all over another man 5 minutes earlier. "Drew, please, let me explain." "Explain what? Gravity? Because that's about the only thing that needs explaining here." I stepped back from her reaching hands. "You want to screw around? That's your choice. But you don't get to do it in my house, in my bed, and then act like I'm the problem." Brett was hopping around trying to get his pants on, muttering about how we were all adults here and could work this out like civilized people. I helped him work it out by grabbing him by the collar and the belt and escorting him to the front door with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for taking out the trash. "If I see your car in my driveway again," I told him as I shoved him onto the porch in his wrinkled suit, "I'll assume it's abandoned property and have it towed." Then I went back inside, grabbed my truck keys, and walked out on 15 years of marriage without looking back. That was 3 hours ago. Since then, I've bought this bottle of bourbon, driven to the most depressing parking lot in the county, and ignored 47 calls and 63 text messages from my soon-to-be ex-wife. The bourbon tastes like regret and bad decisions, but it's honest about it. My phone buzzes again. This time it's not Tessa. It's my brother Jay. You need to come over. His voice is shaky when I answer. I found something in Dad's attic. There's a box of tapes, one with your name on it. What's on this tape changes everything you thought you knew about Mom. I stare at my phone like it just told me the moon was made of cheese. Jay, if this is Dad's old porn stash, I'm driving this truck into the bay. It's not porn, Drew. It's worse. It's the truth. Jay's house sits on the edge of town like it's trying to escape, but can't quite work up the nerve. It's a small ranch-style place with a yard that's more weeds than grass and a porch that sags like it's tired of holding up the roof. But it's paid for, which is more than I can say about my house right now. I pull into his driveway at 2:30 in the morning, the bourbon still warm in my stomach and my head buzzing with the kind of clarity that only comes from having your entire life implode in the span of one afternoon. Jay's waiting for me on the porch, smoking a cigarette and looking like he's seen a ghost. You look like heck, he says as I climb the steps. You should see the other guy. Actually, you should see the other guy's wife. She's probably wondering why Brett came home smelling like shame in my aftershave. Jay doesn't laugh. That's when I know this is serious. Jay laughs at everything, even when he shouldn't. It's his defense mechanism, like how some animals play dead when threatened. Jay makes jokes. How much have you had to drink? He asks. Not nearly enough. I hold up the bottle, which is now about 2/3 empty. But I'm functional. What's this about tapes? He leads me inside through a living room that looks like a tornado hit a thrift store, and into the kitchen where he's got a laptop set up on the table next to a cardboard box that's seen better decades. The box is labeled Drew, open when I'm dead, in our father's handwriting. Dad's been gone 2 years, I point out. Why are you just finding this now? Because I finally got around to cleaning out his attic. Found this box behind some Christmas decorations from 1987. Jay opens the laptop and shows me a screen paused on what looks like a home video. There are 12 tapes in here, Drew. Most of them are labeled with dates from before we were born. But this one... He points to a cassette tape sitting next to the laptop. This one just says, For Drew, the truth about your mother. I sit down hard in one of Jay's kitchen chairs, which creaks like it's about to give up on life entirely. Our mother died when I was 8, car accident. What truth is there to tell? That's what I thought too, until I watched this. He hits play. The video is grainy and has that washed-out quality of old home movies. It shows our father, maybe 25 years old, sitting in what I recognize as the living room of our childhood home. He looks nervous, keeps running his hands through his hair the way I do when I'm stressed. If you're watching this, Drew, then I'm dead and Jay found the box like I asked him to. Dad's voice sounds strange, younger but also sadder than I remember. And you probably hate me for keeping this from you, but I need you to understand why I did it. The camera shakes a little, like whoever's holding it is nervous too. The woman you knew as your mother, Margaret Walker, wasn't your biological mother. She was my first wife, and she loved you like you were her own blood, but you weren't. Your real mother was Margaret's sister, Linda. I feel like someone just punched me in the chest with a frozen fish. Dad continues, Linda was 17 when she had you, unmarried, scared, and our parents threatened to disown her if she didn't give you up. Margaret and I had been trying to have kids for 3 years with no luck, so we offered to adopt you and raise you as our own. Linda agreed, but only if we promised never to tell you the truth. The camera pans slightly, and I can see a woman's hand holding it. The woman I knew as my Aunt Linda, apparently. Margaret died in that car accident when you were 8, just like you remember. But Linda's been in your life this whole time. She's the aunt who never missed a birthday, never forgot Christmas, always seemed to know exactly what you needed to hear when you were struggling. My head is spinning, and it's not just the bourbon. I'm thinking about all those times Aunt Linda would show up at just the right moment. When I graduated high school and Dad was working double shifts and couldn't make it, she was there. When Tessa and I got married, she helped pay for the reception. When the boys were born, she was in the delivery room with us. Jay is your half-brother, Dad's voice continues. Margaret got pregnant with him 2 years after the accident. I thought about telling you both the truth when you turned 18, then when you got married, then when you had kids of your own. But Linda made me promise, and I kept that promise until the day I died. The video shows Dad reaching toward the camera, and then it cuts to Linda's face. She's crying, but she's smiling too. Drew, honey, if you're seeing this, then it's time you knew. I've loved you every day of your life. From the moment you were born, I know I gave up the right to call myself your mother, but you've always been my son. And I'm so proud of the man you became. The video ends. I sit there in Jay's kitchen, staring at a blank laptop screen, feeling like everything I thought I knew about my life just got fed through a wood chipper. So, I say finally, my wife's been screwing her boss, my mother isn't my mother, my aunt is my mother, and my brother is my half-brother. Did I miss anything? Well, Jay says, lighting another cigarette, there are 11 more tapes. I reach for the bourbon bottle. This is going to be a long night. But as I sit there, letting this new reality settle in like sediment in still water, something else is settling too. A cold, hard anger that has nothing to do with family secrets and everything to do with the fact that everyone in my life seems to think lying to me is acceptable. First Tessa, now this. I'm starting to see a pattern, and I don't like it. Jay, I say, I think it's time I stop being the guy everyone thinks they can lie to. What do you mean? I stand up, steadier than I have any right to be. I mean, Tessa and her boyfriend think they can humiliate me and walk away clean. They're wrong, dead wrong. Drew, what are you going to do? I look at my little brother, my half-brother, and smile for the first time in hours. It's not a nice smile. I'm going to remind them that just because I'm the nice guy doesn't mean I'm the weak guy. And I'm going to do it in a way they'll never forget. The next morning hits me like a sledgehammer made of regret and bourbon. I wake up on Jay's couch with a headache that feels like someone's using my skull for drum practice and a mouth that tastes like I've been gargling with motor oil. But underneath the hangover, there's something else. A cold, clear purpose that cuts through the pain like a knife through butter. I'm going to destroy them. Both of them. Methodically, completely, and legally. First things first, I need information. In my line of work, you learn that the best way to fix something is to understand exactly how it's broken. Tessa and Brett broke my marriage, but they also left a trail of evidence that would make a forensics expert weep with joy. I start with the basics. I swing by my marina office, where my business partner Bob is already working on the tech millionaire's yacht. Bob's been my friend since high school, built like a linebacker but with the gentle soul of a kindergarten teacher. He takes one look at me and whistles. You look like you got hit by a truck carrying a load of bad news, he says. Close. I got hit by my wife carrying a load of her boss. Bob sets down his wrench and gives me his full attention. I tell him everything, the affair, the confrontation, my plans for revenge. When I'm done, he's quiet for a long moment. You sure about this, Drew? I mean, maybe you should just divorce her and move on. Bob, they humiliated me in my own house. In my own bed. You think I'm just going to walk away and let them live happily ever after? No, he admits. I guess I wouldn't either. What do you need? I need to know everything. Where they go, what they do, who they talk to. I need evidence that will hold up in court and destroy them in the court of public opinion. Bob nods slowly. I know a guy who knows a guy. Private investigator, very discreet, very thorough. But Drew, this is going to cost you. I've got savings, and after what I'm going to do to them, it'll be the best investment I ever made. The private investigator turns out to be a woman named Sarah Chen, a former police detective who went private after getting tired of bureaucracy and bad coffee. She's small, sharp-eyed, and has the kind of smile that suggests she knows where all the bodies are buried. Cheating spouse case? She asks when we meet at a diner downtown. Among other things, I want to know everything about their relationship. When it started, where they meet, who knows about it. I want phone records, credit card statements, hotel receipts. I want to know what brand of protection they use and who pays for it. Sarah raises an eyebrow. That's very thorough and expensive. Money's not an issue. Destroying them completely is the issue. I can work with that attitude. She slides a contract across the table. Give me a week. While Sarah works her magic, I start my own investigation. I know Tessa's schedule better than she thinks I do. I know she meets her friends at Murphy's Bar every Thursday night for what she calls girls' night. But what I've always suspected was more like a gossip convention with alcohol. Thursday night, I position myself at the bar early, in a corner booth where I can see everything but stay mostly invisible. I've got a baseball cap pulled low and I'm nursing a beer, just another working guy trying to forget his troubles. Tessa's crew arrives at 7:30 sharp. Becky, Carla, and two other women I recognize, but don't really know. They grab their usual table near the back, order a round of Cosmos that probably cost more than I spend on groceries in a week, and immediately start talking in those hushed, excited tones that mean someone's about to get dissected. I can't hear everything from where I'm sitting, but I catch enough to make my blood boil. And can't believe he just walked in on them like that. Brett said Drew looked like he was going to end someone. Tessa's staying at her mother's until this blows over. Honestly, I don't know why she married him in the first place. Brett's got so much more to offer. That last comment comes from Carla, and it hits me like a slap. These women, who I've fed at barbecues, who I've helped move furniture, who I've treated like family, are sitting here talking about my marriage like it's their personal entertainment. I pull out my phone and start recording. It's not admissible in court, but it's perfect for the court of public opinion. Brett told her he's going to leave his wife as soon as his youngest graduates high school. That's what, 2 years? Tessa's crazy if she believes that. Men always say they're going to leave their wives. They never do. Well, at least she's getting good love out of it. She said Brett's got way more stamina than Drew ever did. I grip my beer bottle so hard, I'm surprised it doesn't shatter. These women are discussing my love life like they're reviewing a restaurant. But I keep recording, because this is exactly the kind of ammunition I need. The conversation continues for another hour, covering everything from Brett's financial situation. He's got way more money than Drew, that BMW isn't cheap, to Tessa's future plans. She's already talked to a lawyer about divorce, wants to make sure she gets the house. By the time they leave, I've got 43 minutes of recorded conversation that paints a picture of premeditated adultery and calculated betrayal. But more than that, I've got something else. The knowledge that my wife and her friends see me as nothing more than an obstacle to be removed. That's their first mistake. Their second mistake is underestimating exactly how creative I can be when I'm properly motivated. I spend the next few days following Brett's routine. He's predictable as a Swiss watch and twice as boring. Leaves his house in the suburbs at 7:15 every morning, stops at the same Starbucks for the same overpriced coffee, arrives at the law firm by 8:30. Lunch is usually at Romano's, an Italian place where the portions are small and the prices are ridiculous. He meets Tessa there twice during my surveillance, and both times they sit in the back corner booth, holding hands across the table like teenagers. It's pathetic, really. Two middle-aged people acting like they invented adultery. But Brett's got a weakness, and it's that BMW he's so proud of. It's a lease, I discover, which means he's paying for a car he'll never own just so he can look successful. The kind of shallow thinking I'd expect from a man who thinks sleeping with his employee is a good career move. Friday afternoon, I follow him to Romano's for another romantic lunch with my wife. I park across the street and watch them through the window, sharing pasta and gazing into each other's eyes like they're the stars of their own personal romantic comedy. That's when I decide it's time to introduce a little reality into their fairy tale. I wait until they're deep in conversation, probably planning their next rendezvous in my bed. Then I walk across the street to where Brett's precious BMW is parked. I've got a small bag with me, filled with some supplies I picked up at the marina. First, I let the air out of all 4 tires, not slashing them, nothing criminal, just releasing the air until they're flat as pancakes. Then I open my bag and pull out a container of fish guts left over from a client's fishing trip. I pour the entire contents through the sunroof, which Brett left open because it's a beautiful day and he's feeling confident about life. The smell hits me immediately, even from outside the car. It's the kind of smell that gets into everything and never really comes out. The kind of smell that will make his car uninhabitable for weeks. Finally, I take out a can of washable paint, the kind they use for temporary road markings, and write cheater across his windshield in bright red letters. Then I go back to my truck and wait. 20 minutes later, Brett and Tessa come out of the restaurant holding hands and laughing about something. Brett's laugh dies in his throat when he sees his car. Tessa actually screams. I roll down my window so I can hear better. What the heck? Brett's voice cracks like a teenager's. Who would do this? He opens the driver's door and the smell hits him like a physical force. He staggers backward, gagging, while Tessa covers her nose with her hand. Oh God, Brett, the smell. What is that? Fish, Brett says weakly. Someone put fish in my car. A small crowd is starting to gather, drawn by the commotion and the increasingly powerful aroma of rotting seafood. I can see people pointing and laughing, some taking pictures with their phones. Brett pulls out his phone and starts dialing, probably calling his insurance company or a tow truck. but I know that smell isn't coming out anytime soon. That car is going to reek for months. I start my truck and drive away, leaving them standing there in the parking lot with their ruined romantic afternoon and their fish-scented reality check. It's a small victory, but it's mine, and it's just the beginning. That evening, Sarah Chen calls with her preliminary report. Your wife and her boss have been having an affair for 8 months, she says without preamble. They meet at the Riverside Hotel every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. He pays for the room with a company credit card, which means his law firm is technically funding his adultery. I've got photos, receipts, and phone records that show over 300 calls and text messages between them in the last 2 months alone. What about his wife? Does she know? Not yet, but she's about to. I'm sending you everything tomorrow morning. What you do with it is up to you. I hang up the phone and smile. It's the same smile I had in Jay's kitchen, cold and sharp as a blade. Brett and Tessa want to play games with my life? Fine, but they're about to learn that I play for keeps. Monday morning arrives gray and drizzling, which seems appropriate for what I have planned. I've spent the weekend reviewing Sarah Chen's report, and it's even better than I hoped. Photos of Brett and Tessa entering and leaving the Riverside Hotel. Credit card receipts, showing Brett paying for everything from hotel rooms to expensive dinners to jewelry that I know perfectly well my wife never showed me. Phone records that read like a romance novel written by people with the emotional maturity of teenagers. But the crown jewel is a series of text messages that Sarah somehow managed to obtain. I don't ask how, plausible deniability and all that, but they paint a picture of two people who think they're cleverer than everyone around them. Brett to Tessa. Can't wait to get you alone again. Drew suspect anything? Tessa to Brett. He's clueless as always. Too busy with his boats to notice what's happening in his own house. Brett to Tessa. After my divorce is final, we can stop sneaking around. You deserve so much better than him. Tessa to Brett. I know, sometimes I wonder what I ever saw in him. You're everything he's not. Successful, sophisticated, passionate. Reading those messages feels like being stabbed with a rusty knife, but it also crystallizes something inside me. This isn't just about love or even love. This is about two people who think I'm beneath them, who see me as nothing more than an inconvenience to be managed until they can dispose of me entirely. They're wrong about that. Dead wrong. I decide to start with Brett's workplace. Morrison, Klein & Associates occupies the top 3 floors of a downtown office building that tries very hard to look impressive, but mostly just looks expensive. I've been here before, for office Christmas parties and the occasional lunch with Tessa, so I know the layout. I also know that Monday morning is when the senior partners have their weekly meeting, which means Brett will be trying to look important and professional, while his car still smells like a fish market in August. I walk into the reception area at 9:30 wearing my best suit and carrying a manila envelope that contains copies of everything Sarah gave me. The receptionist, a young woman named Ashley, who's always been friendly to me, looks surprised to see me. Drew, hi, are you here to see Tessa? She's been out sick the last few days. Actually, I'm here to see Brett. Is he available? Let me check. She picks up the phone, but I hold up a hand to stop her. You know what? Don't bother. I'll just surprise him. I walk past her desk before she can protest, heading for the elevator. I know Brett's office is on the 3rd floor, corner office with windows that overlook the harbor. The kind of office that's supposed to impress clients and make them think they're dealing with someone important. The elevator ride gives me 30 seconds to center myself. I'm not here to lose my temper or make a scene. I'm here to deliver information and watch a man's world crumble in real time. Brett's office door is open and I can see him sitting behind his desk, talking on the phone. He looks tired, stressed, and when the wind shifts, I catch just a hint of fish smell clinging to his clothes. Apparently, the odor from his car has become a personal problem. I knock on the door frame. He looks up, sees me, and his face goes through about 6 different emotions in 2 seconds. Surprise, fear, guilt, anger, and finally a kind of forced confidence that doesn't quite reach his eyes. I'll call you back, he says into the phone, then hangs up. Drew, what are you doing here? We need to talk. I step into his office and close the door behind me. About you and my wife. Brett tries to look confused, but he's a terrible actor. I don't know what you think you know, but I know everything. I drop the manila envelope on his desk. 8 months, Riverside Hotel, every Tuesday and Thursday. Company credit card for the rooms, which means your law firm has been subsidizing your adultery. 300 phone calls and text messages. Photos of you two going in and out of the hotel like you're auditioning for a soap opera. Brett's face goes white. He opens the envelope with shaking hands and starts flipping through the contents. With each page, he seems to shrink a little more. Where did you get this? Doesn't matter. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Look, Drew, I know this looks bad, but it's not what you think. Tess and I, we have a connection, something real. We didn't plan for this to happen. It just, save it. I sit down in the chair across from his desk, making myself comfortable. I'm not here for your excuses. I'm here to tell you how this is going to work. Brett closes the envelope and tries to straighten up in his chair, but he still looks like a man who's just been told he has a terminal disease. You're going to end it with my wife, today, right now, in fact. You're going to call her and tell her it's over, that you made a mistake, that you're committed to your marriage and your family. I can't do that. I love her. No, you don't. You love the idea of her. You love having something that belongs to someone else. But you don't love her, because if you did, you wouldn't have spent 8 months lying to her about leaving your wife. Brett flinches like I slapped him. The timing has to be right. The timing will never be right, Brett. You're never leaving your wife, and deep down you know it. You're having a midlife crisis and using my wife as a prop to make yourself feel young and important again. I lean forward in my chair. But here's what's really going to happen. You're going to end it with Tessa, and you're going to do it in a way that makes her hate you. Because if you don't, I'm going to take everything in that envelope to your wife, your partners, and the State Bar Association. You can't prove anything illegal happened. I don't need to prove anything illegal. I just need to prove you're a cheating scumbag who uses company resources to fund his affairs. How do you think that's going to play with your partners, with your clients, with your wife? Brett stares at me for a long moment, and I can see him running calculations in his head. Finally, his shoulders slump in defeat. What do you want me to tell her? Tell her you realized you were making a mistake. Tell her you love your wife and can't leave your children. Tell her she was just a distraction, a way to feel better about getting older. Make it hurt, Brett. Make it hurt so bad she never wants to see you again. And if I do this, you'll keep quiet about all the... I stand up and straighten my jacket. I'll keep quiet about it until my divorce is final and I get everything I'm entitled to. After that, what happens to you depends entirely on how cooperative you are. I'm almost to the door when Brett calls after me. Drew, wait, what about the fish in my car? I turn back and smile. What fish? I don't know anything about any fish. The look on his face is worth every dollar I paid Sarah Chen. My next stop is Tessa's mother's house, where my wife has been hiding out since our confrontation. Margaret Hoffman lives in a tidy little ranch house in the suburbs, the kind of place where the lawn is always perfectly manicured and the neighbors know each other's business better than their own. Tessa's car's in the driveway, so I know she's here. I ring the doorbell and wait, listening to the sound of hurried footsteps and hushed voices from inside. Margaret opens the door and her expression immediately shifts from polite curiosity to cold disapproval. She's never liked me much, always thought her daughter married beneath her station. Now she looks at me like I'm something unpleasant she found on the bottom of her shoe. Drew, what do you want? I want to talk to my wife. She doesn't want to see you. After what you did to poor Brett. What I did to Brett? That's rich. What about what Brett did to me? What about what your daughter did to our marriage? That's between you and Tessa. But terrorizing an innocent man... Innocent? I laugh. And it's not a pleasant sound. Lady, your daughter has been screwing her boss for 8 months. In my house. In my bed. With my children down the hall. If Brett's innocent, then I'm the Pope. Margaret's face flushes red, but before she can respond, Tessa appears behind her. She looks terrible. Pale, tired, with dark circles under her eyes that makeup can't quite hide. Good. It's okay, Mom. I'll talk to him. She steps out onto the porch and closes the door behind her. For a moment, we just look at each other. Two people who used to love each other and now can barely stand to be in the same space. Brett called me, she says finally. He told me what you said to him. And he ended it. Are you happy now? Ecstatic. Nothing makes me happier than having to threaten my wife's lover to get him to stop screwing her. Tessa winces. Drew, I know you're angry, but we need to talk about this like adults. We need to figure out how to move forward. Move forward? Tessa, you destroyed our marriage. You humiliated me in front of our children, our friends, our community. There is no moving forward. There's only moving on. What does that mean? I pull out another envelope, this one containing divorce papers I had drawn up over the weekend. It means I'm filing for divorce, adultery, mental cruelty, irreconcilable differences. I'm asking for the house, half of all assets, and primary custody of the boys. Tessa's eyes widen as she flips through the papers. Primary custody? Drew, you can't be serious. They're my children too. They're children who walked in on their mother's affair, Tessa. Jimmy hasn't spoken to you since it happened. Sid's disappointed in you in that quiet way that's somehow worse than anger. You want to see them? You can have supervised visitation. This is insane. You're trying to punish me for making one mistake. One mistake? My voice rises despite my efforts to stay calm. 8 months of lying, cheating, and betraying our family is not one mistake. It's a pattern of behavior that shows exactly who you really are. Tessa starts crying, which might have moved me a week ago. Now it just seems like another manipulation. Drew, please, I know I hurt you, but we can work through this. We can go to counseling. No, we can't. Because I don't trust you anymore. I don't respect you anymore. And I sure as heck don't love you anymore. The words hang in the air between us like a physical barrier. Tessa stops crying and looks at me with something that might be genuine surprise. You really mean that? Every word. She wipes her eyes and straightens up, and for a moment I see a flash of the woman I married 15 years ago. Strong, determined, and not willing to back down from a fight. Fine, if that's how you want to play it, then that's how we'll play it. But don't think you're going to walk away from this with everything, Drew. I know things about you too. I know about your drinking, your temper, your family's history of mental illness. My family's history of what? Your father's depression, your brother's anxiety issues. Mental illness runs in families, Drew. A good lawyer could make a case that our children would be better off with their stable, employed mother than with their unstable, alcoholic father. I stare at her for a long moment, feeling something cold and final settle in my chest. You know what, Tessa? Bring it on. Because I've got photos, phone records, hotel receipts, and recorded conversations with your friends talking about what a great lay Brett is compared to me. I've got evidence of you planning to divorce me while you were still sleeping in my bed and lying to my face every morning. I lean closer to her, close enough that she can smell the coffee on my breath. But most importantly, I've got the truth on my side. And the truth is that you're a cheating, lying, manipulative woman who destroyed her family for a middle-aged man with a receding hairline and a midlife crisis. So by all means, let's go to court. Let's air all our dirty laundry in public and see who comes out looking better. Tessa's face goes white, and I can see that she's finally beginning to understand the scope of what she's up against. I'll be in touch through my lawyer, I tell her, then turn and walk back to my truck. As I drive away, I catch a glimpse of her in my rearview mirror, still standing on her mother's porch, holding the divorce papers like they might bite her. It's a good start, but I'm nowhere near finished. The law office of Patricia Hawkins looks nothing like the marble and mahogany palace where Brett works. It's located in a converted house near downtown with mismatched furniture and a coffee maker that's seen better decades. But Patricia herself is exactly what I need. A shark in a cardigan who specializes in messy divorces and has a reputation for taking no prisoners. I've reviewed all the evidence you provided, she says, spreading Sarah Chen's report across her desk like a poker player revealing a royal flush. This is some of the most comprehensive documentation of adultery I've ever seen. Your wife's attorney is going to have nightmares about this case. Good. What are my chances of getting everything I asked for? Patricia leans back in her chair and smiles. It's the kind of smile that suggests she enjoys her work a little too much. With this evidence, I'd say your chances are excellent. The adultery alone gives us grounds for a favorable settlement. But the fact that her affair partner was using company resources makes it even better. We can argue that your wife was complicit in what amounts to theft of services. What about her threats regarding my mental state and drinking? Empty bluster. She'd need evidence of actual alcoholism or documented mental health issues that affect your parenting. Having a drink after catching your wife in bed with another man isn't grounds for losing custody. If anything, it shows remarkable restraint that you didn't burn the house down. Over the next 2 weeks, the legal machinery grinds into motion with the efficiency of a well-oiled steamroller. Tessa hires her own attorney, a slick operator named Richard Vance, who charges $500 an hour and wears suits that cost more than my truck payment. But all the expensive tailoring in the world can't change the fact that his client was caught red-handed in an affair that's documented better than most federal investigations. The first settlement conference is held in a sterile conference room that smells like industrial carpet and broken dreams. Tessa sits across from me, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else in the world, while our lawyers engage in the kind of polite warfare that only attorneys can manage. My client is prepared to offer a 50-50 split of all marital assets, Vance begins, and shared custody of the minor children, with Mrs. Walker maintaining primary residence. Patricia doesn't even look up from her notes. Counteroffer. Mr. Walker receives the marital home, 60% of all assets, and primary custody. Mrs. Walker gets supervised visitation and can keep her car. That's completely unreasonable. My client made a mistake, but that doesn't mean she should be financially destroyed. Your client didn't make a mistake, Patricia replies calmly. She conducted an 8-month affair with her supervisor, using marital assets to fund hotel rooms and dinners. She betrayed her husband, her children, and her marriage vows. In some states, that would bar her from receiving any marital assets at all. Vance turns to me directly, which is a tactical error. Mr. Walker, surely you don't want to destroy the mother of your children over one indiscretion. I look at him for a long moment, then at Tessa, who's staring at her hands like they might contain the answers to life's mysteries. One indiscretion, is that what we're calling it now? I pull out my phone and scroll to one of the text message screenshots Sarah provided. Here's a message from your client to her lover. Can't wait until Drew's out of the picture permanently. Then we can have everything we want. Does that sound like one indiscretion to you? Tessa's head snaps up. I never said that. It's right here in black and white, Tessa. Date, time, your phone number. Vance holds up a hand. We'll need to authenticate any alleged electronic communications before... Oh, they're authentic, Patricia interrupts. We've had them verified by a digital forensics expert. Every text, every call, every email. Your client wasn't just cheating, counselor. She was planning. The conference ends with no agreement, which is exactly what I expected. But I can see in Tessa's eyes that she's beginning to understand the depth of the hole she's dug for herself. Meanwhile, the court of public opinion is delivering its own verdict. Word of the affair has spread through our social circle like wildfire, and the reaction is swift and brutal. Tessa's friends, the same women who were gossiping about our marriage at Murphy's bar, are now distancing themselves from her like she has a contagious disease. I discover this when I run into Becky at the grocery store. She sees me coming down the cereal aisle and actually tries to hide behind a display of breakfast bars. Hello, Becky. She turns around with the kind of forced smile people use when they're caught doing something embarrassing. Oh, hi, Drew. How are you holding up? I'm doing fine. How's Tessa? Becky's smile falters. I haven't really talked to her much lately. Things have been so busy with work and the kids. Really? I thought you two were close friends. We are. We were. She takes a deep breath and looks around to make sure no one's listening. Look, Drew, I'm sorry about what happened. I had no idea it had been going on for so long. But you knew it was going on. It's not a question, and Becky's face confirms it. I suspected, but I didn't know for sure, and it wasn't my place to say anything. Wasn't your place to tell me my wife was cheating on me? I hoped she'd come to her senses and end it before anyone got hurt. I nod slowly. Well, someone did get hurt, Becky. Someone got hurt very badly. But it wasn't Tessa, was it? Becky looks like she wants to disappear into the breakfast bars. Drew, I'm really sorry. If I could go back and handle things differently. You can't. But you can do something now. What? You can testify in my divorce proceedings about what you knew and when you knew it. You can help me prove that this affair was common knowledge among my wife's friends while I was being lied to every single day. Becky's face goes pale. I can't do that. That would be betraying Tessa's confidence. Tessa betrayed my marriage. You helped her by staying silent. The least you can do is tell the truth now. I push my cart past her and continue shopping, leaving her standing there among the breakfast bars with a look of absolute horror on her face. But Becky isn't the only one having second thoughts about their loyalty to Tessa. Over the next few days, I received calls from 3 other women in their social circle, all expressing sympathy for my situation and offering to help in any way they can. Translation: they wanted to distance themselves from the scandal before it damages their own reputations. The most interesting call comes from Carla, the woman who seemed to enjoy the gossip most at Murphy's bar. She asks to meet me for coffee, and when I agree, she arrives with the nervous energy of someone who has something important to say. "I need to tell you something about Tessa and Brett," she begins without preamble. "Something I probably should have told you months ago." "I'm listening." "The affair started last Christmas at the office party. I saw them together in Brett's office, and it was obvious what was happening. But Tessa made me promise not to say anything." "Why are you telling me now?" Carla looks uncomfortable. "Because she's trying to blame everyone but herself. She's telling people that Brett seduced her, that she was vulnerable after your father died, that it was all his idea. But that's not true, Drew. She pursued him just as much as he pursued her." She pulls out her phone and shows me a screenshot of a text conversation. "This is from January, right after the affair started. Look what she wrote to me." The message reads, "Finally hooked up with Brett last night. God, Drew's going to be so easy to get rid of now that I have a backup plan." I stare at the screen, feeling that familiar cold anger settle in my chest. She said I'd be easy to get rid of. There's more. Carla scrolls through more messages. "She was planning to divorce you anyway, Drew. The affair with Brett was just supposed to make the transition easier. She thought she'd have him to fall back on financially. And now Brett won't return her calls, and she's realizing that being a divorce paralegal in her 30s isn't as glamorous as she thought it would be." Carla slides her phone across the table. "I'm willing to testify about all of this if you need me to. Tessa destroyed her own marriage, and she's trying to rewrite history to make herself look like the victim. That's not right." I look at this woman who I've never particularly liked, who seemed to thrive on other people's drama, and realize that sometimes your allies come from the most unexpected places. "Thank you, Carla. I appreciate your honesty. There's one more thing." She hesitates, then plunges ahead. "Tessa's been talking about trying to reconcile with you. She thinks if she can convince you to take her back, she can avoid the financial consequences of the divorce. That's not going to happen. I know, but she doesn't believe it yet. She still thinks she can manipulate you into forgiving her." I lean back in my chair and smile. Well, she's about to learn otherwise. That evening, I call Patricia Hawkins and tell her about my conversation with Carla. Her reaction is immediate and enthusiastic. "This is even better than what we had before," she says. "Premeditation, planning, conspiracy to commit adultery. We can argue that the entire marriage was a fraud from the moment she decided to have the affair. What does that mean for the settlement? It means we're going to destroy her in court. Completely, utterly, and legally." As I hang up the phone, I realize that I'm looking forward to the next phase of this battle. Tessa thought she could outsmart me, outmaneuver me, and discard me when it was convenient. She's about to learn that underestimating your opponent is the first step toward total defeat.